I'm Kathy Bissell. Welcome to the Golf Show 2.0, our second season. And to get things started with a bang, we're going to have some awards from Gary Van Sickle. Gary, how about the Barkys for this year?
Yes, we brought back the Barkys like the dogs that they are. It's the first week of January. We're heading into the opening of a new season, so it's last call for looking back at last year. So here we go. We're going to start with the official Barky for the Stroke of Genius of the Year. Kathy, what do you think it is?
I don't know. There were a lot of good shots. There was that. No, can't remember.
To say the hole-in-one by Michael Block.
Oh yes, that was a great shot.
Yes, it was, but that's not the winner. The winner is Nick Taylor, Canadian Open playoff, makes a 700-foot putt for an eagle to win and become the first Canadian to win the Canadian Open since 1954. Here's how crazy they went about that. They changed the tournament logo afterwards. So the logo is now Nick Taylor following his putt in or whatever with his putter.
It should be.
It was an awesome day for Canada.
That's the thing they always say during the Canadian Open is no Canadian has won since or whatever or ever. So now,
and Canadians are very provincial. Although to be honest, every area is the same way, but their national identity is really challenged in sports. But they haven't really had anybody since Mike Weird who's really done a lot. So great thing. And there was a whole celebration. One of his buddy, I think it was a Hadwin, somebody got
tackled by security because they didn't know who he was.
Yeah. Canadians are not used to celebrating big wins, so there you go.
It was our first attempt in a while, so I
think Taylor's thing was so big it might have been even bigger than the Toronto Maple Leafs finally winning a playoff series last year. Of course, only won one, but they're like Toronto's. The Leafs are a big deal, and they've had a long dry spell, to be polite.
And there was a great putt by an amateur who we spoke to earlier, a couple of versions of the Golf Show back, which people can find if they want, making a humongous putt, and that set a Guinness World Record.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Well, of course you didn't, but you heard it here first on the Golf Show 2.0. Jay Stocky, they started, he and his buddies went up to Whistling Straits and had so much fun there on the par 3 course, the Baths. They decided, hey, nobody's got a long putting championship, but there's a long drive championship. So they started their own long putting championship. And afterwards, they decided to try to get the Guinness Book of World Records, the longest putt, which was 395 feet. And after 2 days and what was it, 1,900 tries or something?
Some amazing try.
They had to be quick because it was getting dark. Jay Stocky, a semi-retired ad guy from Downers Grove, Illinois, made the 401-foot 2-inch putt. So he's got his certificate from Guinness, who gets an official Guinness Book of World Record.
And so the best thing is that they're going to have this, I think, on an annual basis. So someplace, if you Google the longest putt or whatever, you should come up with Jay Stocky and the longest putt, and you can give it a try next year when they have it. There's going to be qualifying in regions.
Longestputt.com, I think, is the website. So you can just go there and probably figure out how to sign up. And good luck making a 134-yard putt. Good luck on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a miracle that anybody makes that kind of a shot. And I think the previous record included some part of the fairway and some other stuff. So it really wasn't technically a putt, but this one was, since it was on a putting course. And
let's move on to this is a normal award, but let's give a Barky to your favorite major of last year and what was it and why? Go.
I think I didn't have one last year. We got a situation where John Rahm won the Masters and then he defected. Brooks Koepka, who's already with the other guys, won the PGA. The U.S. Open was surprising on many levels. And then a nice guy who's a veteran player who everybody likes, but not very many people have heard of, won the British Open. It was a weird year. What did you think?
Well, I like that Koepka won. There's a guy who's playing for history, and he had kind of kicked away the Masters with a bad final round, and he came back, so he reintroduced himself. But honestly, I got the biggest kick out of watching Brian Harman dink and dunk his way around the golf course and crush everybody at Royal Liverpool in its stupid internal out of bounds. That it's just, you can't explain that something guy like that gets hot and he just roasts everybody. So it wasn't a very interesting finish. It wasn't close, but there was something. I mean, I enjoyed the fact that the Brits, who don't really have hunting, they couldn't find anything to rip this guy for, so they ripped him for being a hunter. Ryan the Butcher. He'd shoot a deer and then take the venison home and eat it. I mean, so I don't know. I enjoyed that one, even though it wasn't a nail biter.
Well, it was certainly interesting, and it showed everyone that you don't have to be a long hitter to win at golf, and that's important.
Tiger Woods won there and never hardly hit a wood. He hit iron off the tee when it was big firm, and he relied on his iron play, and he was pretty good at iron. I mean, besides me, Brian Harman. I think we wore that topic out. Let's go on to what I call the Liars All-Stars. These are the guys who get Barkys for being champion bluffers last year. I got to start with Patrick Reed at the Hero Dubai Desert Classic. He hits his ball into a palm tree, and using binoculars, he swears he can identify his ball so he can take a drop there instead of having to go back to the tee. Well, Brandel Chambly and Golf Channel later showed the video, and they, without a doubt, his ball went into a different tree than the one Patrick is sure he found it in.
Wow.
And in golf, if you're not totally positive about the location of your ball, then that's it. You go back and re-tee.
Yeah.
Patrick has had numerous run-ins with the rules before. And I mean, the video shows it. He was wrong, and they let him get away with it. So that was bad.
That's bad.
Brooks Koepka and his caddy were signaling five iron over to Gary Woodland and his caddy, Gary telling him what he hit. And they both denied it. If you go back and watch that video, which I'm sure is out there, Koepka takes his glove off and thinks he's being so subtle and clever, and he's going like this, like
okay.
And they got caught. Even Paul McGinley on the Golf Channel called him out. He said it was obvious, and no penalty for that. So that was not the Masters' finest moment.
For a long time, the caddies have signaled to the camera people, whichever, on whatever network.
They quit that for a while, and now it's become a common everyday occurrence. But when you're caught on camera doing it, don't lie about it. Just admit it. Golf is a game of honor, supposedly. All right, we did it. Yeah, is that a penalty? Okay, we did it. We won't do it. That's how it should have worked, but it didn't.
Well, isn't that considered giving advice?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're not supposed to do that, but
you can tell a guy, hey, I got 172 to the pin. That's okay. You can give him information, but you can't telling him what you hit.
Club. Yeah.
Is not legal. And of course, we've got John Rahm, whom you already mentioned. He spent a year and a half saying he was never going to live. He does not play golf for money. $400 million. This is a year and a half ago. He said $400 million wouldn't change my life.
Apparently it does.
Well, apparently it does. Oddly enough, I don't know how he knew that number, but that's reportedly the number he wound up signing for.
Well,
maybe
he was offered that and hadn't accepted it yet. And then after he won the Masters and had a great year, maybe he decided, okay, maybe I will take the money after all. I mean, who knows? You don't want to jump on anybody for taking the money, but he just said he wasn't going to do it so many times.
His loyalty. He proclaimed his loyalty to the PGA Tour.
Yeah, it's a bad look
for the money. And then I think the worst thing on top of that is after he takes the money, then he says, I'm not talking to anybody till February. Be a man, own it up, and say, I do play for the money. And
they're not allowed to talk.
Yeah, they are.
We do that anyway.
Liv said they had no restrictions on Jon Rahm. So, and the last one, of course, going back on your word, is Jay Monahan, who got all over everybody for going to Liv, and he had just met with members of 9/11 families and tour players. Have you ever been had to explain who you work for or answer for that? Meaning you don't work for the Saudis. And then the famous June 6th, he turns around and takes the deal. And his excuse was, I said, I know I'm going to be called a hypocrite. Well, yeah. My decisions were based on the information I had at hand. I'm pretty sure we had the information on hand that the Saudis were behind 9/11. So I think, not to mention other things like murdering that journalist. Well, so all the things he was telling these guys were bad, then now you can't say that. Now you can't say I have to answer for what the PGA stand for.
We don't know what's going to happen yet because they didn't reach agreement by the 31st of December. That doesn't mean they'll never reach agreement. That just means they haven't yet. But the Saudis are notoriously difficult to get agreements with. And so this thing could drag on for another year before anything is really settled. I mean, that would be unfortunate if it did, but in the interim, the PGA Tour might get backing from other people from the US or, wherever it is multinationally, and they may not need the Saudis. So it may be a whatever. What was it?
Jay got caught. Jay got caught because he really ripped these guys for going.
And they didn't
around and does it without.
And then they didn't tell McIlroy. They left him out hanging, or if they did, it was at the 11th hour. I don't think anybody had any notice. I think they had a meeting in New York and got excited and went over to the CNBC studios, who of course they're not going to turn that down. You're going to want to interview them. It was just handled badly, and that's unusual for the tour. They don't usually mess up like that, but they did in this instance.
Well,
so
they're under a lot of pressure. They realize they can't win a money war with the Saudis, and so
I don't think anybody can.
No. So, but
I say move on.
That's why you should not have been ripping them beforehand if you were going to chance that they're going to take a deal with them. So they're your business partner now. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Well,
for now,
these things happen in business.
Well, let's discuss the
replay.
Greatest use of instant replay. It wasn't replay, but there was a
15-year-old
kid. Yeah, 15-year-old kid in Ohio. He made 3 hole-in-ones in the same day. And the reason was he was in an outing and he was positioned on a 120-yard par 3. And each group that came up, he would hit a shot for them and they could choose whether to take his shot or their shot. It was a scramble. And he jarred it 3 times during the course of the day. And,
that's pretty amazing. I mean, really and truly.
That's one of the hole-in-ones he made, I believe I read that I think he'd hit all his balls up in the green already. He hadn't collected them. So he borrowed somebody's ball on the group and he hit that in the jar. So he kind of forgot. He thought it'd be rude to ask for it back after he made a hole-in-one. So he made 3 aces, but he's only got balls for 2 of them. A souvenir. But I've been in outings where that's done. Not very many of them, but I don't think anybody's ever beaten that. 3 aces in a day.
No,
wow.
Well, Fred Couples hit that miraculously on the 17th at TPC Sawgrass. He hit a first ball in the water, and then he had to hit a second ball in the hole. So
and did not disdain the drop zone. He just, I'm hitting again.
Yeah, so he did.
Yep. Well, the worst use of instant replay would be the 16th hole at Oak Hill during the PGA Championship, where
is that the bunker gate?
Yeah, where a couple of guys lost the tournament on Saturday. Corey Connors, the Canadian, was near the lead or leading at the time, I forget, and he's in that fairway bunker, and he drills it right into the face. And they had to get Indiana Jones and some other guys out there to try to find it. And then on Sunday, now Victor Hovland's in the last group with Brooks Koepka, and they're duking it out, and he hits it in the same fairway bunker, and Hovland drills it into the face, and they have a hard time finding it. And they're both hitting 9-iron. I mean,
unbelievable. Why would you not get something that clears the bunker? That's, you know.
Yeah. Unless they had terrible lies there, that's not that hard to get it out of there. But
well, they could have gone. Wasn't there fairway to the left of where that bunker was?
Yeah, it was It was on the right side of the fairway.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think. Look, a normal shot, those guys don't have any problem getting it over the face. And they both mishit him. What is a coincidence, and cost them both the tournament. Then,
well, it was a steep face bunker, so I mean, that was just silliness. But silliness, bad decision, bad shot at the wrong time, something. It was horrible.
All right, well, I've got some Barkys for things people either didn't notice or have already forgotten about.
Okay, let's hear that.
Bryson DeChambeau shot a 58 in a live tournament.
Yeah, he did.
So I'm not sure if that counts, but it was 58's pretty good.
Well, it counts on live, but it doesn't count on the PGA Tour. But there are plenty of PGA Tour. There are PGA Tour players who have shot. Well, Jim Furyk shot a 58 in a tournament.
When they talk about it on TV this year, if anybody happens to get close, they're going to say, well, Furyk and DeChambeau have both shot 58, so they're just going to say Furyk.
I think they're going to say Furyk because it's a PGA Tour event. That's my opinion. But
here's something that you've forgotten about until NBC starts doing telecasts. NBC got rid of Paul Azinger because they salary dump, cost cutting. Kevin Kisner is replacing Paul Azinger.
Well, he may not be.
To give me 20 guesses who they were going to replace Azinger with. Kevin Kisner would not have been a guess.
No, he wouldn't. Well, I think that they're going to have some rotating people still. Aren't they having rotating people fill in the first? Somebody's going to do the first couple of events, and then somebody else.
They should just use an AI and see how that works.
One of those robots.
Good shot there, Dan. That was an excellent shot. That human made that good putt. It was very well done.
We always see those. Somebody in Britain always has a robot doing the news or something. I think a robot would be pretty funny for at least one day. I don't think I'd like it on a regular basis.
Well, you need to get a robot. Only you get Dennis Miller or somebody to do the voice. I don't know. Here's another one. And this is not obscure, but if you go back to the Solheim Cup with the women.
Oh, yeah.
Lexi Thompson, Leona McGuire chipped in on the last hole, and Lexi Thompson, all she has to do is get up and down from the fringe. And it was a little, her lie wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. And she shanked it off the side of the green and then, had a pitch. I mean, it was awful. It was just as bad a shank as you could see. She loses the hole, so instead of winning the match, she gets a half. So, this was on Friday, I think, wasn't it? Or was it Saturday? Anyways.
I don't know.
That maybe, but either way, it was a cost. You lost a half a point. Is that a big deal? Well, apparently, because it ended in a tie.
Yeah. So it was.
If you could say that shank was a half a point that cost them, but everybody's done it. It's just not good.
It's a bad time for a shank.
And she was a wild card pick that was questionable. Again, it was much like Paul McGinley said about the Ryder Cup. You got to pick players on form, not on reputation.
Yeah.
In Whistling Straits, the Brits, the Europeans went on reputation, and it did not work out well.
Yeah.
And this time, the Americans went on reputation, and it didn't. For the men, did not work out well.
Yeah.
And Lexi Thompson was on that team with reputation, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
Another obscure thing happens is there were 5 guys tied near the lead at Bay Hill going near the end.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, Jordan Spieth, and Tyrrell Hatton. Which one of those superstars won it? The 5th guy.
None of them.
Kurt Kitayama.
Well, good for him.
It was. But I think he had a 4th at the PGA. And then he had then he disappeared the rest of the year. I really thought he'd make the Ryder Cup after the PGA, and then he just vanished.
Let's talk about our favorite people, geezers. There's some geezers who did good things this year.
My favorite sweatshirt still says, "Are you tough enough to get old?"
Oh, no kidding.
Well, why don't you talk about the record-setting moment in geezer history?
I don't know if it was a record-setting moment, but there's certainly
he broke the record in Wisconsin.
Oh, that record, Steve Stricker.
No, not that record. Bernhard Langer.
Oh, that, yeah.
Bernhard Langer broke the record for most senior tour victories, and he did it at a major, the Senior Open at Century World in Stevens Point, Wisconsin.
Yes, he did.
Now, that probably pales in comparison to the fact that week in the locker room, you could get a beer from the local brewery made with Steve Stricker's input, and they called it Strychnine. It's a craft beer, and it was available in the locker room free for the players. So,
and he
I don't know. Having your own beer probably beats being the U.S. Open champion. I don't know. What do you think? In Wisconsin, it certainly does.
In Wisconsin, it would be more important than winning the Senior Open. But
I'll use my Wisconsin accent to say, that beer was really good there. Hey, Wisconsin, on Wisconsin. I can do that.
Stricker had such a magnificent year. He played
He's the king of the
16
geezers.
Tournaments and won 6 of them and finished in the top however many the rest of the time. I mean, he didn't play badly all year.
Steve finished 1st or 2nd in 11 of 16 senior events. Won 6 of them, 3 majors, and he had his own beer.
You can't argue with that.
Which I've still got. A buddy of mine managed to get some. It was a limited edition beer, and I've got a couple cans still left. So,
did you drink any of it?
Offer.
Did he drink any of it?
What's that?
Did your buddy drink any of it?
I had a 4. They come in 4-packs, and I've given 2 of them away.
Okay.
And I did not hear back from whoever got them and who probably did drink them, but I've got 2 left that remain unopened. I'm hoping
that was fabulous.
They're probably already worth $4 or $5.
Right.
All right. We have a special Barky Award for this year for the best corn-flavored Pilsner. Obviously, it's Strychnine beer.
Strychnine, yeah.
It got a 3.9 rating out of 5 on Untapped.
I thought the best thing about it was the story about the man who had been farther north, even in Wisconsin, and was driving back home to Steve Stricker's hometown where this guy lived, and he had some kind of a store there, and he had been unable to get any of the Strychnine beer, and so he stopped in at the brewery, and they loaded him up with 10 cases, and a couple of cases were for Steve's mom because she shops at his store, and she was calling like every week trying to get some. So he loaded up for everybody in the Stricker family and who knows who else. It was popular, at least in a few places in Wisconsin.
Yeah, it sold out by the time it hit the shelves at Piggly Wiggly. They were gone before you knew what hit you.
Yeah, had to be quick.
Yeah,
can't stand between those Wisconsinites and their beer.
Well, it could be any kind of beer that would sell out.
I know.
Well, this brings us to our quote of the year, which is from a volunteer marshal I interviewed while I was doing a story on the 17th hole at Phoenix this last year. The Waste Management Phoenix Open. The marshal said, "It's a golf tournament for the first hour every day. Then it turns into a party." That's
I
pretty
wonder
much
what
it.
he would say about the last hour of the day. My goodness, how many people do they have to carry out of there?
Well, it's a little bit better now. They used to be the Bird's Nest used to be on the grounds, and
Yeah.
there's rock music, and it was a big bar. Now they've moved that off the course grounds, and but yeah, it's.
They needed it for
I tried to go
spectators.
in there a few times, and it was wall to wall people. You couldn't even, if you got in, you couldn't even move. So
Wow.
I don't really know what the Bird's Nest is like, because I got in there and got trapped a couple times and said that's enough.
It's like the whatever the party tent was at the Byron Nelson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Byron Nelson used to be quite the party place when it was at the Four Seasons.
Yeah. I don't know, where is it even? Oh, it's moved up farther north in Dallas, right?
Yeah, they built a different course for it, and then that didn't prove real popular.
Right.
And now I think they moved up to McKinney, Texas, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Their TPC Craig Ranch or something like that.
Yes. That'll be a good place.
We should have looked that up before you brought it up.
I'm sorry. We were going on memory there.
Well, so I guess between the Phoenix Open and Steve Stricker, it was a beer year.
That's right.
Brings us back to Homer, as Homer Simpson once said famously, more than once, "Beer me, Marge."
Well, that's that kind of a year.
That kind of year. What else from last year blew your skirt up, as the old saying goes?
I liked all of the people who had re-won again. Like forever, it had been forever since Ricky Fowler won, and he finally did. And he wasn't the only one. Jason Day finally won again, and Justin Rose finally won again. And I'm leaving somebody out. I have to go to my list.
How about Tiger Woods finishing 18th in the 20-man Hero World Challenge in the Bahamas? And it's a 20-man thing, and yet it gets world ranking points, even though Liv doesn't. And just finishing 18th, he went from 1398 to 898, 828, or so. He moved up 350 spots because he finished 18th in a 20-man field.
I'm going to cut him some slack because A, he's Tiger Woods, and B, he actually walked all 4 rounds, which was
I'm not criticizing him at all. It was great. He didn't look half bad, and when he played with his son in the PNC Championship,
he looked even better.
I'm like a lot of people. We're gushing over him. It's like he can still play, and it looks like he can walk, but you can't get ranking points for that event. That's just. And then
we don't give the ranking points. We're not in charge
the
of
Liv lawsuit. That should be item number 1. This gets ranking points, and we don't.
Well,
I'm surprised he didn't get ranking.
The big thing about the Liv situation is they got rid of the lawsuits, and that was important monetarily because people have told us that they spent upwards of $50 million in legal fees. And, the Saudis have $50 million is like a drop in the bucket to them. They just kind of look the other way. But, pretty soon for the PGA Tour, that's real money. You can do a lot with $50 million.
Wouldn't it have been a lot easier if the Saudis just went to the tour and said, hey, we want to sponsor the 4 World Golf Championships, and we're going to jack the purses up to $25 million.
That would have been the smartest thing they could have done.
The tour would have said, "Oh no, we can't let you do that." I don't think so. You should have. I mean, it would have been so easy
smart. I don't know where they missed that as a suggestion, but someplace along the line, something just wasn't working, or they wanted to have their own tour and they didn't want to be involved with anybody else, or they thought they had a tour with something you could sell because they're still stuck on their steam golf.
They think they can create a major. The one guy wanted to. Did the one guy want to buy the Masters or something? They know just enough about golf to be dangerous, but they don't know that much.
No, they don't know enough to understand.
That's where they went wrong, and then they happened to bump into Greg Norman and.
Yeah, and Greg had it in for the tour, and so he was happy to take their money and keep telling them they were good guys.
Yeah, like they could have
The way
had
it goes.
4 $25 million tournaments on the tour, and it would have been a big deal. I think. I don't
Yeah, it would have
know why
been.
the tour would turn
It would
that down.
still would be. Nobody would turn that down. That would have been the way to go.
Well, we just solved the
Well,
limit crisis, but it's retroactively, so we can't go back in time.
guess what it's time for? Oops, that's not what it's time for.
That was
Guess
the
what
wrong
it's time
one.
for?
Subscribe now; it's free. Help us.
Well, I haven't done this in a while, so
Help us, Obi-Wan. You're our only hope. Subscribe for free.
Nothing
Just
bad
do
will
it.
happen. Nothing bad will happen.
Everybody else is making money on the internet except us. Help us out. We need
That's
the help.
right. Well, until next time, Gary, I say we end this recording.
Until next time, what?
Until next time we do a show.
Yeah, and what's the punchline?
Well, there's no punchline.
Next time.
Until next time, goodbye from here.
Well, okay, I'll second that. Do we have to have a vote? All in favor? Oh, it's a 1-1 tie, apparently.
I know. We'll have to arm wrestle.
Okay. Well, that's going to be a little hard because about 1,000 miles apart. Thanks for watching. Do it again, please.